Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tailgate Talk. We're your hosts, David and Nick. Nick, say hi to the people.
Howdy.
So we're gonna look at the latest college football playoff rankings that just came out Tuesday night. So I'll go ahead and share those now.
I actually haven't seen these yet because I've been working, so I this is my kind of first reaction to it.
Yeah, Nick was at the Clemson Penn State game, working that game, double overtime thriller at Little John. Nick, real quick, how give us a little insight into college basketball. How's it looking for Clemson?
Well, they looked electric. It was a fun game to be at. I just wish I didn't have a paper due in an hour that I had to get back to, but it was a fun game. Two good teams. PJ Hall looked great. Hunter Tyson looked great. It was a all around team effort. It was a good game. It was fun to be at.
Yeah, I think Clemson's got the tools this year. If they can just make some freaking free throws consistently, uh, they can be a real dangerous team. So we'll
First time
we'll
I've seen
definitely keep
100
you
points in
guys
person.
updated on that as the playoff kind of settles down and we get into college basketball season. So anyway, here we go. We're going to start from the top. Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC are your top four teams, followed by Ohio State, Alabama, and Tennessee. Um, on the outside looking in, with then Penn State and Clemson and Kansas State rounding out the top 10. Got Utah, then Washington, Florida State up to 13. LSU, then Oregon State, Oregon, and UCLA. So a lot of Pac-12 teams in that first 15 to 17 rankings this week. Tulane at 18, I think they're the highest ranked group of five team right now. South Carolina, after their huge winning at Clemson, they're in the rankings at 19, big jump for them. Followed then by Texas, Notre Dame, UCF, UNC was going to play Clemson in the ACC championship game down to 23. And then Mississippi State and NC State rounding out the top 25. NC State has what, four wins against ranked teams with four different quarterbacks this year, I think. Crazy,
Crazy.
crazy year for NC State. So Nick, initial thoughts right there. This first time you're seeing it. What do you think?
I feel like ranking Mississippi State is just a way to justify keeping Alabama at 6. It's hard for me. I know Tennessee lost more recently, but it's hard for me to have Alabama over Tennessee when Tennessee has that head-to-head game. So at that point, what's the point of even playing the game? I agree with the top four. I think obviously if everybody wins out, that's going to be your playoff. I think that would be an interesting matchup with Michigan, TCU, and Georgia, USC. I think that TCU's offense, Michigan's defense would be a heck of a battle. Interesting to note that Ohio State is above Alabama. I think that definitely keeps. I mean, that's obvious. It keeps the door open for the Buckeyes. Should either TCU or USC lose in their conference championship, that leaves the door open for Ohio State to get in. I think realistically looking at this, if you're Alabama, you want TCU and USC to lose their conference so that way you and Ohio State can get in. I think the first team that really is kind of eliminated in this sense is Tennessee. I just don't see them. I feel like Tennessee should be above Alabama, but if the committee doesn't have them that way, I see it hard to believe that they would leapfrog over Alabama should both TCU and USC lose their conference championship. So I think it kind of this week kind of solidified that those top 6 right there are the only teams that are kind of eligible for the dance, in my opinion. And also, I
Yeah, I
guess it's
agree
good
a
for South
hundred
Carolina.
percent. I agree 100% with all that. I think TCU is in a better spot than they were a couple of years ago going into the conference championship weekend when they were in
Yeah.
the top four. I think this time around they got to lose by a lot. I think in order for them to get jumped, um, if USC loses. If USC loses, I think that, Ohio State slides in to probably 3, maybe. And if TCU loses, that is. But if
Oh, okay.
TCU loses by a lot, then I think that would give the committee what they're looking for to justify putting Alabama in, even though they have more losses than TCU. So I think TCU, you keep it close, you win the game, you're taken care of. Southern Cal, same thing. It's real simple for the top 4 teams, just winning you're in. Because all you're going to be able to do is pad your resume with a conference championship while Ohio State, Alabama, and Tennessee sit at home.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting to see that Kansas State is a top 10 team again. I think that kind of opens the door for TCU that if they do lose close, like you said, that they wouldn't drop too far because it's so like that's a top 10 loss. Like that's not a bad resume. And Utah there at 11, that again, that leaves the door for USC and TCU to not necessarily perform to their best. Obviously, USC has to win because they already have the loss to Utah, but it leaves the door open for TCU to potentially lose to Kansas State close, but then still slide in there. So, also shout out Washington. They've quietly had a very good year. So,
I think
Huskies
they're a
had a
little
great
bit
year.
low right now. I think they should probably be the one, in my opinion, that is in that top 10 range. I think Penn State, Clemson, Washington, pretty comparable right now with coming off of I think they're probably the below Tennessee and Alabama when it comes to the 2 lost teams. It irks me seeing, multiple teams with more losses ahead of teams with less, especially when you've got a team like Washington that's got a chance to win the Pac-12 and they're not being rewarded for that. I understand Kansas State has a chance to win the Big 12, but Washington's got one less loss. Where's the why are we not? Why are we getting all caught up in that and not the actual results of the games? You got one less loss, you
Washington
should be higher up. I think
Washington can absolutely not win the Pac-12. They are not in the championship game. That is Utah versus USC.
Utah.
You were close. You almost had it.
What,
You said Washington has a chance to win the Pac-12.
Nick?
Can you hear me?
I'm pulling up right now. Oh yeah. So that confuses the heck out of me there. Then is it because Utah had an out of conference loss?
Yeah, Utah lost to Florida.
I was forgot about that.
There you go. There you go.
Hmm.
Almost had it.
I rescind my upsetness. I take it away.
Stupid.
Forget it.
Dummy.
Poor Washington. All right, I'm done with this. Let's go. Let's go to our top 15 rankings.
You said that. I'm like, what?
I don't know. I don't know. All right. It's 11 o'clock local time. I've been waiting for hours for this kid to finish his damn work.
Take that up with Clemson and Penn State. That's not my fault.
I don't care. I'm blaming you anyway. So I'm
Whatever.
I'm getting cranky. I want to go to sleep.
Dummy.
So let's go. Come on, bring it in, Nick. Talk about this week. You and I had the exact same top 15, and look where you put Washington. Look where you
Yeah.
shared it.
No, I think
So
like I said, I think Washington's had a great year. I think that they absolutely should be ranked in the top 10. I think that
yeah. Mm-hmm.
well, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's start from the beginning. Georgia, I wasn't laughing at you for thinking that Washington was good. I was laughing that you thought that they were in the Pac-12 championship game. It's two
I
completely
looked at
different
the
things.
records. I didn't look any past that.
Yeah, yeah, that's laziness
Hey,
right there.
it is laziness.
Anyway,
I accept it.
anyway, Georgia, best team in the country, in my opinion. If their offense can show up, then they're the most complete team. But so far, their offense has had a couple games where they just don't bring it. So, interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they match up in a playoff game. Michigan, great win over Ohio State last weekend. Really kind of proved that they're. I don't know if I'd say that. I mean, you can say that's 2 straight years they've kind of blown out Ohio State. Some might say that Michigan's kind of the cream of the Big Ten right now. TCU continuing their great year. USC proving everybody wrong. Everyone was calling that game against Notre Dame a trap game. USC came in, handled business. Caleb Williams kind of cementing himself as a Heisman. Ohio State, they got blown out at home, but they're lucky enough to still slide in there at 5. Again, I think we both had Tennessee over Bama because of that head-to-head result. Talked a lot about Washington. I'm surprised. I mean, I know I put them at 9, but that was just because I didn't think that the teams below 9 were better than Clemson. But I'm surprised that they only dropped us a spot after losing at home to an unranked team. But I'm going to take it. I am so low on Penn State. I don't know how they're a top 10 team. Kansas State at 11, great year so far. Utah at 12. They've been hanging around. Florida State continuing their upward trajectory with Norvell. Good to see. LSU kind of got exposed that they shouldn't have been a top 5 team. And Oregon State wanted to reward them a little bit after beating Oregon. So go Beavs.
Go Beavers. I agree. It's boring. Nah. Move on.
It is kind of
No,
interesting
but
that this
in all seriousness, Georgia, Michigan, 2 best teams right now. I thought it was Georgia, Ohio State, but Michigan just blew the doors off Ohio State this week. So I gotta reassess and adjust accordingly. TCU, USC, both very deserving, with chances to cement themselves with winning a conference championship. Ohio State gonna linger there right now. They're hoping for just a little bit of chaos. And then I agree with you, Nick. Tennessee should be ahead of Alabama for that head-to-head. When they got the same amount of losses, one of Tennessee's losses to the number 1 team in the country.
I will say
So
that the one reason why they probably have Alabama ahead is because Hendon Hooker is done for the year. And when you look at it that way, you could say that Alabama is now the better team. But I don't think you can take away
thing
what
is for
Tennessee
that
did.
though is that Milton came in and this week, and I get it, it's Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt was on a 2-game SEC win streak,
Oh,
and
watch out.
yeah, the Vandy bot was going crazy.
The
If you
mighty
watch SEC
Commodores.
shorts,
Wow.
so Commodores shout out, got a friend at work alum there. He was really hoping that they were going to take it to Tennessee, and that did not happen.
Nope, they still suck.
But Milton looked good. I mean, I get it. It's Vanderbilt. It's not the same as if they were playing, a South Carolina or another
Kentucky.
team that's just seen as a better team in the SEC than Vandy. But for me, that put to bed a little bit of rest, saying, okay, I'm not going to penalize Tennessee so much that they don't get the benefit of having that head-to-head win over Alabama. And honestly, I think that's the threshold is 6 right there. For me, I think it's the top 5 teams are jostling for those 4 spots. I don't think that 6 and below have a shot. So I
So
don't have
even
any qualms about putting Tennessee ahead of Alabama there.
so you think that
Um,
if USC wins and TCU loses, you think that they would still slide TCU in there? Or you think
well,
Ohio State kind of
if
takes that?
USC wins and TCU loses, I think that TCU drops to 5 and Ohio State goes in at 4. So I think that if you want any chance, if you're 6 or higher, you need multiple. Like really, it's 6 is the lowest that you can be ranked and still have a shot, and you need 2 teams to lose and lose in convincing fashion. Really, um,
What if, hear me out here, Clemson hangs 100 on North Carolina and wins, and both USC and TCU loses? Do we see Clemson jump all those people? Some people are
if
saying.
Clemson scores
Some
100 against UNC, 100 points against UNC, absolutely throw them in. Will that happen? God, no.
no, it will not.
So that's not happening. Washington, Clemson, Penn State. Honestly, I look at those 3 teams as very comparable right now. Same record. Like you, Nick, I haven't been high on Penn State all year. I've been presently surprised with Washington, and Clemson has been up and down, and lately more down when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. So
Sad.
put them however you want there. But Clemson, from a Clemson perspective, you got a chance to win this week against UNC to win the ACC, and then next week, if you win the ACC, you're going to the Orange Bowl, playing either Tennessee or Alabama. Probably, you win that game, you're going to be a top 16, maybe top 5. So it's a good season for Clemson, just not what all of the
Fans
fans were
wanted.
hoping for and expecting. So, but you got to win these next 2 games in order for that to even be in the discussion. So, a lot can happen still there. Kansas State, chance to win the Big 12, keep them right there at 11. I think that makes sense. And then Utah, as well, chance to win the Pac-12, as I've been informed.
There you
Um,
go.
so, and you know what? Here's the funny thing too: is earlier in the week, I made the joke that you had to pick Utah in the Pac-12 game because every time we picked a Utah game, you pick them, and it's now a tradition, and I need to pick against you. So I should have known that coming in. I don't know what my brain was. I'm blaming it on you and your damn basketball game being up late. It's all your fault, Nick. Anyway,
Poor David.
Florida State. Florida State has turned things around since they're running through the gauntlet of the Atlantic at the time. Um, but the way that things went for NC State and Wake Forest, I'm sure they wish that they could have gotten those 2 wins, and that would have been even better for Clemson, I think. But Florida State is quietly having a very solid year, and looking to be the second highest ranked, if not the highest ranked, if Clemson loses to UNC. So they've got, based off of the CFP rankings, based off the AP rankings now, I think if I think Florida State's probably rooting against Clemson this week because they want to go if they want to go to the Orange Bowl.
It
Um,
wouldn't matter because they can't
oh
get in the
right,
Orange
yeah,
Bowl because
UNC.
UNC would have the automatic.
Mm,
So sorry, Florida State, not this year.
all right. Oh well, I was trying to give them hope. I'd take that
Nah,
back. They'll
nah.
probably go to the Cheez It Bowl or something. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's probably what the Holiday Bowl, the Cheez It Bowl, maybe the Gator Bowl is what they're looking at as a couple of options. But they're having a great year, in all honesty. And I think they're trending in the right direction. I think Norvell's the right guy. Just get better at some, just time sensitive decisions like not passing for it when you just need a field goal. And you guys are in the right spot, right direction. LSU was a pretender for top 5. They're back where they belong. Um, and go Beavers.
Beavers.
So I think that's it. We gotta get off. Sorry, Nick can go write his paper. Uh, Thanks for joining in. Let us know what you think. Let us know if your team's still in it, if you got a shot or not. And as always, guys, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.